Do tonight is just a real short summary of where we have been to date, how we got here. New tonight is this preferred solution, which we did preview last night at the public board meeting. So some of you may have already jumped the gun on this. And then we'll discuss what happens moving forward. So to date, these are things we've already discussed in our previous either notes to the Bluebell community or our community conversations here on Zoom. So in this case, we started way back with Stony Creek process. This is phase 2 now. We had a note to everybody. We had a community conversation. This is back in January, another note in February, just kind of keeping everybody up to date. Back in March, we had our second community conversation, and that, you recall, is where we shared the 3 possible options, and we got some feedback from everybody. In April, I sent out a note to the community just with an updated time frame, like what's going to happen pretty much month by month through the end of school. Last night, we had our public board meeting where, as I mentioned, the latest version of the preferred plan was shared out, and I think it's safe to say it was well received by board members, because this version, we were able, the design team actually, in a rather incredible short time frame, incorporated a lot of feedback that not just stakeholders had, but also board members into this preferred plan. And so that leads us to tonight, community conversation number 3, where we share out that preferred plan. And by the way, we'll have plenty of time at the end for questions and feedback. So tonight is a new preferred solution. There's going to be an attached PDF file. By the way, this slide deck and this PDF file, which I'm going to share in a second, will all be on the website should you want to return to it, or if somebody didn't get a chance to join us tonight, not only will this recording be on there, but the materials will be as well. So this we're calling option 4A, and it essentially started with the base concept of old option number 3. So when I throw up the pictures here in a second, we're going to go to option 1, which was discarded for reasons we'll talk about. Options 2 is not even in the mix anymore. That's, you recall, the one that kind of phased things in. We started this with option 3, which was, as you recall, keeping the addition in the back of the building. Now, this option 4A modifies the design slightly, but the concept is there. The building's in the back. We had these same goals throughout the whole process, and we've spoken about these on multiple occasions. We obviously need more classroom space. Not quite so obvious, but just as importantly, we need more core capacity. And then the traffic flow, that one everyone experiences every day. And for sure, we want to preserve the play area. Among other things, Ms. Farlow has been a champion of that, which I do appreciate. So the modifications to number 3 were based on stakeholder feedback and design team improvements. Okay, so I'm going to get out of this one, and I'm going to get to the documents. Whoop, jumping the gun. Can't see the end one first. Okay, so this here is option, what we first set out as option 1. Okay, this is not the preferred solution. This is just, we're going to go through 1, 3, and 4A. You will recall that this one had a new cut into Skipback Road here, and the traffic, the vehicle traffic green is the car traffic, and the buses exited out here. We had classrooms on this one added on the side, and the new multi-purpose room onto the side, thereby having to relocate the playground. And that was a bone of contention on a number of fronts. The playground and this design would have been out here. So, and on all of these also, I might point out, we have an alternate bid for more classrooms back here. And we spoke about the why for that. It's not so much that we need all 4 of these, but we might need some relief from Act 34, which is that state requirement. So this will be an alternate bid, but the concept here in option 1, which we're not recommending, was a side build. So from that, we have option 3. Again, we eliminated option 2 because option 2 was a smaller core space and 2 stages, and it just wasn't going to work. This is option 3, which had as a concept the addition on the back. All-purpose room and kitchen, serving area here, classrooms all along the way. And what's nice about this is it created another hallway in the back, so the school got unified, got some good flow. Angela was very much in favor of this, as were the rest of us. And the traffic flow was kind of the same, a cut out and skip back, and the buses would come out the bus garage here and just some parking. But again, this one had to cannibalize the existing play area, which is very popular, not only the treed and wooded area or wood chip area here, but also the macadam area here. All of that was going to get relocated to the back. This option 3. The feedback on option 3 was, we'd like to, is there a way the design team can figure out something that preserves the playground where it is? So, and the answer is yeah, because this design team is second to none, and I mean that, and I've worked with a lot of design teams over the year, but the engineers and the architects we have came up with this, which is option 3. So you'll note that the concept is the same, that the addition is in the back. All-purpose room is on the left side of the back, and then the classrooms all the way along. We still have a connecting corridor, so the building's still unified with good flow. This design for A has a tiny little extension corridor that connects the new areas to the old. That's not really a big deal, but it's a change. But the real big change about this is, which is why we all like it so much, is it actually accomplishes a secondary goal of entirely separating vehicle traffic from bus traffic. And it preserves the existing playground and the existing macadam area used for play, because the buses now are going to come in off of School Road, do a quick loop around here, drop kids, and then go back out the same way. So we can create parking here, which we have to have. If you build your capacity, you have to have more parking in the back. But then we retain all the play area that we have now. And the passenger vehicle flow changes just a tiny, slightly bit here, goes through, and we accomplish all the classroom space we need. And weekend and evening use can be through this way. Parking can be here. You can enter the gymnasium here. This can be, the current playground can be used for overflow parking. Would never be used for such during the school day or whenever school is in session, but after hours, weekends, there would be a gate here, and we could open this up in case we needed more parking. I don't know. Wade, what am I missing here about this design? Oh, we'd say this design allows us to save a few more of the trees that are up here in this case, the top left of the property. We're still going to have to take some of those to recreate some parking, but not nearly as many as we did in option 3.
Yeah,
Ray, what do you think?
I think you hit most of the highlights. I would just accent that this one does require us to steal space from the bus garage, and just like you said, pull a little bit of that canopy up in the upper right-hand side, and we are double loading cars from the loop to the school. That's how we're creating additional ability for cars to stack so that we keep them off of Skip Back Pike.
Right. So this double loading is a really creative solution. Please keep in mind that never will anybody get out of a car when they're double stacked. The only time anybody gets out of a car will be when they're single stacked here, so that they get out and enter and exit right immediately onto the sidewalk. No one is ever crossing any traffic for the drop off and pickup times. But we do, the double stacking allows us to get as many cars into this as we can.
And I think you mentioned it, but on the weekends or whenever the multi-purpose area is used for, say, girls basketball or something, Angela, Mrs. Farlow had a very good point about how are we going to sort of section that off so that folk aren't walking through the rest of the building. And this design will allow that very, very well. We'll be able to, where those little appendages are to the existing building, we'll be able to seal them off so that basically just the multi-purpose center will be accessible.
Yeah, yep. It's a very, very functional design. And we all know, everyone on this Zoom knows how tight this property is. I'm I remain just incredibly impressed that they could fit all this in. I mean, there's going to be a little impact on busing, as Wade mentioned, and so we're going to have to, the trees are probably more out to here now, and so we're going to have to take some of that canopy, but this canopy stays. All these beautiful big trees in the play area stay. And I think this accomplishes pretty much all the goals we had, plus incorporate some feedback, which was pretty clear. We don't want, if at all possible, we'd rather have this be untouched. The walking trail is largely untouched. It might be slightly moved here and there, but for the most part, it remains. And we don't have to cut into skip-back pipe, which is a nice plus. So we'll certainly be able to go back to that at the end. If anyone has any questions, I will, what do I got here? I think feels like it's that one. Okay. So moving forward, this is the same timeline that we shared out in the notes to the Bluebell community. This next board meeting, which is on May 31st, the board will review again this preferred solution. We're not anticipating any modifications to it unless somebody comes up with something tonight that's a brilliant idea. Happy to change it. There will be more opportunity for the board and anybody in the public to provide feedback. And then the next meeting of the board, which is in the last one of the school year, June 6th, is when we're going to ask the board to vote to move forward with this, just in terms of the next stage, which is really to commission the design team to spend a lot of time coordinating with township officials, preparing all the detailed documents, coordinating with the state. There's an incredible amount of backroom work that needs to happen once the board accepts the concept, which is basically what you just saw, the schematic of that for option 4A. So then if that, presuming that happens, then we'll use the summer and beyond to begin stuff like land development, design. We've got bidding documents, we've got permitting, all sorts of stuff that has to take place. The targeted bid opening is roughly July 2023. That, that might be plus or minus a couple months, but I threw that in there just to give everyone a sense of the time frame here. It's a long process. Also, we went over this last meeting, but that Act 34, that thing that requires any districts that embark on construction projects, they have to have a certain percentage of the project, or at least the resulting building, be educational in nature. So those challenges, we're going to be close on that. But we think we can do it. And also, the entire project, if we get started on Tuesday, June 7th, will be at least a 3-year process. And I know that's disappointing because people want change tomorrow. But there's no way to do this any faster. And this is about the same time frame as we had at Stony, building essentially the same magnitude of project. This one's going to be even a little more complicated because of the plot of land we're dealing with. So I'll stop sharing now, and we can take questions if anyone has any or comments. I don't know, Ms. Farlow, did we miss anything you were hoping we would highlight, or?
I'm absolutely delighted with this plan. It's really the best of both worlds for us because we are still able to preserve that playground and keep that space. So it still feels like Bluebell, right? We want to hold on to what Bluebell traditionally is, but it really helps us, of course, with the number of students we have, but it modernizes us in a way where we're more competitive, right? And I don't mean, it's 2022. So we want to feel like we're moving ahead and moving along. And I feel like this really gives us the opportunity to be more competitive, to have the space, to not feel like we are so, that we're so, looking for the right word, that space is such an issue that is preventing us from being our best. So
are you saying that the Bluebell gym right now doesn't produce competitive teams and competitive gym classes?
I just think that, when we really want some scholarship athletes, that it starts here at the Bluebell gym.
I neglected to put that in the goals section, Wade, but
or
when we go final
player.
Wade or anyway, anything that you remembered that I forgot?
Yeah, but you didn't forget it. It's just me throwing out caution because I have to, that that option 4A is developed very, very late recently. And that is the least vetted among the engineers, traffic, otherwise, civil, and others. We are pretty confident that that has the ability to continue as we develop it, to not hit a hurdle that we can't get over. But the other ones we were more confident on, and I just have to throw out that caveat. So even when we go to the board, we're sort of going to still say to them, this is preferred option, but we're going to have to keep these other ones in the back pocket just in case something comes up.
And we'll keep everyone apprised of that along the way. We want to get going, want to give the design team the green light. But if we come up to something insurmountable, we'll definitely communicate that out.
So we're opening up for questions at this time. There's a raise hand feature in Zoom at the bottom of your screen if you're on a laptop or desktop device. You should see a hand that says raise hand. You're welcome to use that feature. We'll see that your hand is raised and we'll bring you over as a panelist to be able to ask your question verbally. If you don't see the raise hand feature, you can select 3 dots, especially if you're on a cell phone. You should see 3 dots. And if you select the 3 dots, you then should be able to see the raise hand feature.
And we won't even have a 3-minute timer like we do at board meetings. And we might even be able to interact with people and answer questions at the same time. So this is a more civil way of communicating, but it also is way more different than a formal public board meeting. So it's a conversation.
Yeah, conversation. So we don't have any hands raised just yet. Here's one, Tara. Welcome, Tara. You should be able to unmute.
Hi, everyone. I have a quick question. It's regarding the amount of space in the existing building. Is there an issue where that students would be taken out of Bluebell Elementary as their primary neighborhood school and moved into another neighborhood school? I am aware that the school district is moving the autistic support program out of Shady Grove Elementary and moving it to Stony Creek Elementary. Is there a possibility that it could happen where students from Bluebell Elementary would be moved to Shady Grove as their neighborhood school? Or are we planning to keep all of the children who are currently at their neighborhood school, Bluebell Elementary, in Bluebell Elementary, being with this space contingencies?
Thanks for that question, Tara. You said very eloquently what we refer to as redistricting. And one of the good news about good facets of this is that we don't anticipate the need to do any redistricting as a result of this. As Wade pointed out, there could be hiccups that make us have to change the design rather radically. But this design, if we can get it through the way it was just presented, will provide us with more than enough capacity, both classroom and core at Bluebell, to keep everybody who's there now, I should say all the neighborhoods that are zoned for Bluebell now there. So let's keep our fingers crossed on that. Redistricting was an option when we first started this process because maybe there was a solution that made sense, and maybe there was a construction option that would have been, I don't know, half as much capacity that made sense. But in the end, we were able to design this one because we really, if at all possible, would prefer to avoid redistricting for lots of different reasons.
Okay, thank you for that. At this time, I don't see any other hands raised. Oh,
I knew,
there's
listen,
one.
if Andrea didn't have a question, there was no way this was a valid Zoom.
There we go. Hi, Andrea, you should be able to unmute.
Thank you. It's actually not a question, it's a comment. Well, first, it's a thank you, and especially to Mrs. Farlow. Preserving the playground is obviously really important to the kiddos but it's particularly important to the home and school, as our families over the past few years have just generously raised money to help enhance our playground. And Mrs. Farlow has been the most wonderful partner in trying to make Bluebell as terrific as it can be. And so we really appreciate the attention to the playground. We recognize that it will take time, and we're not going to add to it immediately, but we will in time. And I just really wanted to say thank you to her, and thank you to you guys, and thank you to the design team, because that's wonderful to see in this new plan. So thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. Thanks for those nice words. And we agree with the way this is progressing. Okay. Well, if we end up not having any more, that's totally fine, because again, I just want to reiterate that the materials will all be on the website, both the slides and the PDF drawings, as well as a recording of this. And also, please do not hesitate to send a question out or email, call any of us in the next, whenever it pops into your head, because the more opportunity we get to hear from you and to get feedback from the community, the better the ultimate design will be. So let's keep those channels open. We appreciate taking time out of your busy day to help us. And if anything pops up between now and 3 years from now, do not hesitate to let Ms. Farlow know. And any one of us too, that's true. But where she lives, it's a little harder to get to us. Okay. Well, that wraps this up. Thank you again. And I hope everybody has a nice rest of the evening.
Good night.
Thank
Good night. Thank you.